This is Beyond the Resume, the podcast that brings you the stories, advice, and insights behind some of the most successful people in real estate. Beyond the Resume is brought to you by Jackson Lucas Executive Search, the industry leader in human capital solutions. Here is Chris Papa and Lisa Flicker.
Russell Lang, welcome to the podcast. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you.
Hi, Lisa.
Chris, great to see you.
You too. Welcome back from D.C. She was just in D.C., Russell. At Georgetown.
Georgetown College campus. I didn't want to leave. It was the weather's perfect and all the kids were outside. It's what are we doing?
Russell, you are the Chief Executive Officer and President of Catholic Homes New York. Those are big titles. Can you tell us about Catholic Homes New York, please?
Yeah, love to. So, I think I know the history. I know I'm not a historian, especially I'm not a great historian if it goes back to 1970. And I just found out new history yesterday, which I'm still processing. The story that I like to tell is, back in the 70s, right, when there was a lot of land opportunity, parishes realized the opportunity that they wanted to do more, than just within their congregational walls. So they had excess land. They started to work with folks that knew how to develop. And that's really a lot of our existing assets. We have this vintage of housing from 1970 to 1980, like 1,500 units that were really kind of generated from that original parish thought where they developed it. And then over time, they weren't necessarily aspirational to be housing developers. They were more just doing something for their local community. They kind of worked with the archdiocese and then, about these collection of assets. And then, Catholic Homes was kind of created under the Catholic Charities umbrella. And we became our independent three where we're holding on to these assets and making them perform accordingly. So these assets, from the 1970s have we're on our third or fourth cycle of improvement with them, which is great. And we have very long-standing relationships with these communities. And then I would say in the early 2000s, we started thinking more about, doing more. So we started to do more new construction opportunities. And since then, we're kind of right about 3,000 units today of new construction and a variety of, and again, though, and that opportunity also was on vacant parcels, some parish, some stuff we own, some opportunity that we heard about. And today we have about 3,000 units of affordable housing. We have a mix of senior, family, and then we also have some designated supportive units as well, which is coming increasingly a part of our portfolio.
Really?
Yeah.
And I remember a couple of years ago, you were building out Grand Street. Where are you in that project?
Yeah, that's the biggest one for sure. That's on the Lower East Side, working with the Grand Street Guild community there. And that has, so the original is 600 units. That's our oldest asset in 3 towers. So 200 units a tower. And then rezoned the campus many years ago and are now working through that. So we just transitioned out of a 232 family unit. And then we just closed last June on a 191 senior unit. So making that campus even better. We're getting close to 1,000 units now, which is exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you said all the properties are in the 5 boroughs?
Yeah, good question. We get this question all the time. We follow the Archdiocesan of New York footprint. So that means we're Brooklyn. We're not Brooklyn, Queens. We are Staten Island, Manhattan, the Bronx, and then the 7 counties north of the Bronx. So,
Gotcha. I love I interviewed Matthew. I can't think of his last name, his Polish last name, the Sisters of Charity, I think, out of Staten Island. And it's like these places, nuns and priests used to run, all this stuff, right? They were the developers, and just picture them around with their frocks or whatever to being real estate developers. And then, you are not that. I mean, you have a long career in affordable housing development. So they reached a point where they're like, holy smokes, we got a real company here. We got to bring in some professionals here. Right. So kind of tell us about kind of that transition of coming in. I remember they were like, we need someone to run this for us. And they hired you. Can you tell us about that transition?
Yeah, it was just amazing because, and I think I talked to you guys about this too when I was hiring. It's like just the opportunity here was fantastic. You have 15 assets in various cycles of affordable housing. So, my affordability knowledge keeps on expanding every year because it's like all the whatever vintage of affordable program was available that day, we kind of did it. So we have a very wide variety of assets that we kind of got to understand better because, with all these assets and all the different regulations, sometimes there's a lot of limitations, but there's also a lot of opportunity. So just trying to like figure out how to better, have the asset perform, get in a real great team as well on like how to make it perform better. And really just with like the ultimate goal of like tenant experience, right? And trying to really differentiate ourselves as an affordable housing nonprofit owner developer is just tremendous. The field is getting increasingly less, right, because of a lot of issues with affordable housing that I'm sure you've discussed a lot on this podcast. But we are a little different because we have these great steward assets that we've been able to hold for a long time. So we don't. So all the assets are really performing well, and that was just huge relief. It wasn't like a certain situation where it's like a close down. It was no, like we need to grow more. We can see what we can do more here. So that's been it. And then it's like, similar like a normal affordable housing development shop, how to prioritize stuff with the city and state to try to get to the front of the line, come up with partners, especially on the social services side, which I can tell you more about, and how to like differentiate yourself, trying to really kind of meet the need of the community. That's what we're trying to do.
Which is wonderful to have somebody who has got the experiences that you have, but also caring about the needs of the community. Tell us a little more about the social services aspect. I love that.
Yeah, it's really fun because again, and people hear this a lot when they're like Archdiocese, New York, Catholic Charities, Catholic Homes. You're like, and then Brooklyn and Queen, and they're like, what does this mean? It's bureaucratic for sure, but I love to talk about it because it's so big, and the work they do is just fantastic. And we are associated with 12 other alliance agencies under the Catholic Charities umbrella. And we also have a federation of agencies that are Catholic based as well that we work with on services. So we have social service providers that are like somewhat in house or, related or very affiliated in the sense of like mission aligned. And they have been on the front lines of poverty for 100 years, right? 150 years. Some of these organizations go back, and they deal with everything from foster care to mental health to family issues to more kind of like light touch, just getting people on their feet kind of thing. And we work with them, and they're kind of a part of the family where we work directly with them to kind of improve the overall tenant experience, whether it's government mandate or whether we're self-funding it to try to improve because the services aren't there from the government, but we understand the need.
Wow. Yeah. It's kind of it's a big bureaucratic, and it's not super organized all the time, right?
It's organized in our mind, but not to anybody else. It's the inside. Inside makes all sense. Outside, I can see it be a little confusing.
Welcome to
So how
20.
big's the organization at the head count of the people and like kind of you have asset managers now and all, it's like a full-fledged affordable
Yeah.
housing development organization.
So we're about 10 people total. And part about being a part of the Alliance Network is some of our back office needs, let's call it, or, our IT, our HR, some of our finance, some of our legal is also kind of working with the Alliance. So we only have 10 employees total, but we have kind of a little bit broader of an engine behind us because we are associated with these other organizations. So we punch above our weight a little bit when it comes to like kind of the excellence of the back office stuff. And the front office stuff, we have, yeah, asset managers, three kind of more on the development front, kind of like finance, accounting, and Eric very well, our COO, kind of bring it all together. Oh, and our construction managing unit as well.
I think what's been really interesting to us is the mission driven nature of the role in its entirety. When you were in college or at Amherst, you're one weekend, you meet your wife. Are you thinking like I'm going to run an affordable housing platform, or like what was young Russell like?
Yeah, what's young Russell like? Good question.
Get your wife in. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
know, get my wife, yeah, right. My 3 kids would cut me down if I brought them on. They would say not the nicest things. But I would say, yeah, no, just figuring out. I mean, it's kind of that classic liberal arts. I didn't know really what I wanted to do, but kind of knew I wanted to work with government. I was always kind of into that. And then a series of internships. I worked at Bill Clinton's post-presidency office. That was my first internship. Really got a feel for like him working in Harlem. And that was really exciting to kind of see that transition of his office. And he had a community development folk there. And then kind of over time, I actually worked at the EDC for a little bit and started to really get into the public-private space. Went to school to NYU Wagner, got my degree in urban planning.
How did you like that? Like, what did you learn at NYU? I've looked at like the
Yeah,
Bloustein School and other public,
yeah,
those
yeah.
type of schools. What do you learn at those schools?
Honestly, I think with NYU, one of the best things that you can say about it is like everyone is like just doing everything all at once. It's kind of like a collection of experiences where you are going to school and kind of augmenting all that liberal arts education stuff, like classic economics, classic finance on how to like run things that you just kind of missed in the liberal arts sphere for the most part. And at the same time, everyone seems to be working too, like 2 jobs, 3 jobs. It feels like everyone is working, 8 to 8 most days and picking it up. So it's kind of like where like I think other schools were a little bit more like go to school full time. Wagner is like kind of that, and NYU really does create that, like, you know, whatever makes sense for you. We're not even going to try to manage that. You want to take 1 class, you want to take 5 classes, doesn't matter. So I was there for like 2.5, 3 years, kind of going part time, full
Yeah.
time. Well,
You
yeah,
can.
but
So you
it's
went to
great.
Clinton, and then yeah,
Yeah,
you got EDC, then you were at Enterprise. Like you hit a lot of the big amount of,
yeah,
shop. Like you learned. I mean, that must have been really fascinating to jump into
yeah,
this world and learn all about all this stuff. Do you have
yeah.
any idea about like this world existed before you kind of jumped into it?
Unfortunately, I didn't. I just kind of knew. I think the real moment was kind of working at the EDC, and you're like, oh my gosh, these things are amazing, like the High Line, these ballparks, whatever, these giant pools or rec centers, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. But like, it never felt you could recreate it again, right? There was nothing to learn. So that was like kind of my inspiration to really kind of think more about affordable housing, still doing stuff with kind of the local community. But like just being able to replicate has been like, the best because every time you do one deal, you take that baggage into your next deal. And it's really kind of always that cycle of improvement, which is really what I kind of me gravitating towards affordable housing. Still doing a lot of that public private stuff, but like being able to replicate and learn was like just the best. So yeah, I got to learn. And it's funny because like, it's also about taking a lot of risk and like, I started off at Enterprise in the PR department, I think. But then I was like, hey, can I do some more? And they're like, why don't you first be an office manager? I'm like, okay, great. I'll be an office manager. And then slowly I got to syndication and got to work with folks like Kirk Goodrich and Tom Eastman, who taught me all about underwriting. And that's where kind of the foundation went. So it was kind of like being flexible with kind of that grad school,
There you go. Yeah.
taking on whatever internship they would throw at me. I was doing photocopier leases, at Enterprise. And I was like, but I really want to do this like affordable housing syndication. They're like, all right, Russell, you've been here long enough. Like, let's go for it. And that's where, it starts to really take off.
And the ability to pivot like that, I think, is a key indicator of success. So it doesn't surprise me that you've made it to where you are.
Trying still. Yeah. No, it's been great. And I got to work at a lot of great companies as well. CPC, which was really fun. Really, different. It's kind of that. And that was during the time of crisis in 2009 when everything just went away for a second. And kind of seeing that was amazing. And then I got to work for a developer contractor with Jeff Levine and Douglaston Development. And that was an amazing opportunity as well because, the construction and that mindset is so critical to kind of development. And I got to learn that with one of the best. And that was fantastic as well.
So I mean, you're picking up all these skill sets. Like, how
Yeah.
did you like, I guess, all right, picture yourself as somebody coming out of Wagner
Yeah.
or undergrad, and they're like, all right, like what did you learn when you first, like your first day at like CPC or Douglaston? Like, that you just didn't know before?
Um, I tell folks when talking to, folks who are trying to get in the industry, like everyone's got to come with their skill set, right? Like when you look at Jeff Levine in Douglaston, like he knew how to build a building, right? He was actually an architect by trade, and then he got into development. So he kind of had that eagle eye focused, right? Mine was a little bit more like government and finance, right? And that was what I really kind of leaned into. And, the tax credit game is just an unbelievable program because you're dealing with affordable housing, but it's not really through HUD most of the time. It's through the IRS, right? And there are a lot of these rules with, eligible basis and low income housing tax credits. And figuring that out has just been tremendous fun and success. Like, what can we do here with this eligible basis? Can we add a community facility? Would that increase our basis? Kind of like those kind of tricks you can do are really fun because you just kind of really once you understand a program and you can really understand how to like make it work for you. That's what I guess I'm trying to say. I like those constraints, but within the constraints, I think there's a lot of room.
Yeah. I'd love to hear your impression of the difference between the public and the private
Yeah,
side, just because we speak to a lot of students and I feel like the line is blurring. I feel like, a gazillion years ago when I was a kid, the public was very, one way and private was very capitalist, and the
yeah.
two were completely different, but I feel like now the same people tend to kind of winds up in both, so I'm curious what the culture is like for you.
I think increasingly, right, when like it seems like more like resources are more scarce, right? So when resources become like more scarce, like everyone is focused on the dollar and how to maximize that. So I think there were times where, interest rates were low and stuff seemed to be like going really fast, right? And I think in the beginning of my career, I did a lot more deals and then it kind of slowed around COVID because the deals just becoming increasingly more expensive or increasingly larger. And there was just like a volume cap issue. They could only do so many deals a year. So everyone talks about how they used to do, I'm just going to make a number up. They used to do 30 deals a year. Now they're only doing ten deals a year. So I do feel like you're right in that way. Like because everything's become more stretched and more scarce, then everyone has to be on it in a way that they weren't kind of before. Like nothing gets swept, everything is negotiated ad nauseum. The binders keep on getting bigger. They become more and more complicated, and they take out all the fun stuff increasingly more and more. So it's like they're trying to make everything more the same. So maybe that has something to do with it. But I mean, I think everyone though, and that's what's great about this industry is like, whether you're public or private, I mean, everyone is just so dedicated to the improvement of people's lives, to this affordable housing. And it's just fantastic. I mean, the people you work with, I've been working with for 15, 20 years and still the same, still fighting to try to build more units to make New York and the greater community better.
What is New York doing to try to make it easier to build more units, if anything?
To build more units.
Preserve, build, just to like make it easier for people to have more housing,
Yeah.
especially with like a new administration coming in, and I'm sure there's trying to have some
This is like
changes and
pass.
Nah, yeah, yeah. Uh, there is an earnest effort for sure to work a lot with nonprofits because of how many less nonprofits there are from when I started many years ago. It just used to be okay to like not grow so much and kind of stay within your territory. But that there seems to be like you have to evolve, otherwise you're kind of falling behind mentality. So I do think the government is like trying to prioritize RFPs by like mandating WMBs, and nonprofits are part of the membership team, for example, and that's been going on for a little bit. I would say too, like, they're very interested when you call them, they're very respectful. It's not like they're not picking up your call. So that's great because they understand like the value that you're providing. And just even just yesterday, I think there was an announcement about them trying to like figure out this insurance a little bit more, and they're trying to create some kind of insurance so you can kind of keep that expense under control. So I do feel like there's definitely recognition towards like nonprofit affordable housing developers for sure, and like with me too, and Catholic Homes. I mean, there's like an institution closely associated with it. And that's very meaningful because we're operating in communities where, people are just dropping in, but we've been there 150 years, working with the parishes, many generations of folks. And that resonates with folks because we're talking to the parishes. I think the government officials are kind of recognizing there's a real dialogue there. This is not a fly by night thing. This is a serious long-term relationship that we want to understand.
What makes a good developer, and then what makes a good chief executive officer?
Yeah. I don't know. I say
Besides a good-looking tie.
Exactly.
you told me to wear. No. I would say developer. Some of the best. Okay, I'm just going to talk my industry, affordable housing, like the earnestness of the end product of improving people's lives, fundamentally, foundationally has to be there. I think people, and you see that when you talk to folks. I think that's really true with that, throughout the industry of the people that have been here a long time still care deeply as they did day one to today, absolutely wanting to do that. I think the developer is kind of, I don't know, I'm a little biased to the liberal arts again, but you got to know everything, right? It's never enough. I want to learn about construction. I want to learn about this environmental review. I want to learn how I want to talk about bird glass today. And, tomorrow I want to talk about construction means methods. And I don't want to talk about the bond markets and that. You just kind of have to want to learn it all, whether you're good at knowing it all. It's another problem. But I got to say, generally that, just constant wanting to know more, constantly wanting to improve. I really find those are some of the best developers. And I've been really blessed with the people that I worked with. You guys interviewed Judy the other day. Judy Herbstman, she was one of my interns. When I first started out, she was with me. Yeah, she's the best. And when you get to work with people like that, it's just mixed. So obviously you have to hire excellent people, and Judy's one of them. She was the best, and it's so great to see her leading settlement housing as well. Couldn't be happier for her. So that's that. And then so there was the question about the developer, and then what was the other question? Sorry.
Now you're not just a developer, you're not just the president, you're a client. Now you're the president of an organization. What makes a good leader of an organization? Here's my little
yeah, I'm
co-host.
definitely more cats. That's what
You
more
got
cats in
cats?
the office. Everyone can relax a little bit more. What's the
My
name of your
emotional
cat?
support cat.
What's the name of your cat? I'm just curious.
Luna
Luna.
Papa.
I don't know, Luna. You're
Who's
long.
that
Papa.
mascot?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's a princess. So I'm
My
just
cats are
blessed to
more
be.
they're like my roommate's cats. They kind of acknowledge me just for when I feed them in the morning, and they're just not into me.
I'm blessed to be in her presence.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll go to cats to CEO, president stuff. Look, I mean, I think one thing hard stop about this organization is obviously working within this Catholic universe. That's just, you have to be comfortable with just how unique this organization is. So that's one thing. But as far as president and which is and president CEO, it's just really about the team and hiring the right people. And I've just been really fortunate that, the team, which has turned over a little bit from when I started, is really kind of all cylinders firing away and just doing excellent. This is going to be our biggest year because we've had to put in strategies where, we're doing everything. So we have industry talk. We have 2 loan conversions, 1 construction loan closing definite, 1 maybe, and 1 acquisition loan in 1 year, in addition to, revamping our asset management, doing a strategic plan. All that, is because of just working constantly with really great team members that really want to improve this organization because everyone respects how long we've been here and all those tenants that have been with us for so long, and then try to figure out how we can even do better. And that's kind of the mentality, really, with that mission to really serve people is just fundamental to us. And that's great.
And having kind of the public and the private, you have the experience of the fiduciary responsibility, but
Yeah.
also the mission driven piece of it.
Yeah.
If somebody were in school today and they kind of wanted to be the CEO one day, of of Catholic homes, what do you think? What skills? What would you say they should study? What would you say they should be thinking about?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Talk about AI because that's a whole other thing.
that's a whole other thing. Yeah. I mean, the finance stuff is critical. Like, I just, look, I'm not going to design or build a building. I'm not going to do that. But to hand off the financing to the consultant, and we've worked with a lot of great consultants, it feels always like one step removed. And that is the thing that, I just feel like it's hard, it's complicated, it's a little bit uneasy a lot of times. It seems like you never know enough, right? And in addition, it's always like, with real estate and affordable housing, it's always like you have to be a finance person. Plus, like, you always have to have like a legal mindset to it as well, because it's so critical. So I feel like kind of one of those two paths of like finance or legal, and really kind of working that kind of stuff as much as possible. I don't, AI definitely helps for sure. Like, I'm not debating that at all. But like, to like really kind of have that foundational stuff with talking in those languages, hugely important. And then obviously like wanting to work with the community. Like, you gotta want it. Like, you gotta, still go with that mindset that you're gonna have to show up to a community and they're gonna have questions. And you have to be okay with like feeling uncomfortable, because, you know, a lot of times with real estates, and you see this with RFPs, like, they want it to be everything, right? They want it to solve everything, but sometimes it is just bricks, right? And you just got bricks and concrete, and you got to really, try to do as much as you can, but realize like there is a limit to it as well. And just kind of being open and transparent about that.
And you seem like you had a lot of curiosity, right? Like you were just like kind of exploring everything. So
Yeah.
being curious, and curiosity killed the cat, right? We just talked about a cat, and you're a cool cat, but you're about to be a hot cat.
Okay,
You
let's
just
go.
sat on the hot seat, Russ.
Got this.
Meow.
Cool cat, hot cat.
Now you're making me blush when you meow. Like, I can't handle that.
I know. Kitty
How do
wants
I
some milk.
respond to that? I'm off guard now. I'm lost. You're gonna have to.
Right.
That's how I
Chris starts
get
meowing.
people.
We don't know what to do.
I know. Don't let me start talking in my cat voice. You don't want to hear that. It's
I'm
very
gonna take a sip of
uncomfortable.
water. This is gonna be a long sip. Let me tell
It's
you.
very uncomfortable.
Mm.
My son hates it. He's like, please stop. You're making me uncomfortable.
No, it's all right. This is like, I think that's the fun part of the day. You never know what the day is gonna bring, and people are catcalling. It's okay. It's okay. We can do this. You can hot seat catcall. It's fine.
Always
There you
ready
go.
for.
Yeah.
We should start putting on cat ears next time, Lisa.
There you go. I probably have a pair somewhere in my Halloween bin.
Cat on a hot tin roof.
So, Russell, tell us a little bit about what you're reading, or if you're listening to any interesting podcasts.
Yeah. I'm pretty boring, so I talk about podcasts a lot for sure, because that's like, there's not much time between now and going to bed. So with the family too. So, I love all of those ringer podcasts, whether it's sports, culture. Yeah, my favorite one is definitely Plain English. That one is just, it makes me feel a lot smarter at the end of the day, for sure. Just kind of like understanding
Yeah.
the world through that lens is just fantastic. That's what I love. Yeah.
Me too.
That I heard
Yeah.
in English.
Plain English. I got it on my stream. I don't listen to it all the time, but what is tell us about your first deal, your most memorable deal, like one that stands out. You're
Yeah,
like, holy smokes, this is like really cool.
man. Yeah. I know it's gonna sound like, trite, but it's like everyone is my favorite, like there's so much. I mean, whether they're not that they're perfect. I mean, I don't know if they
I mean,
stand
the
the
High Line sounds cool. The ballpark sounds cool.
no, I mean, I think there's something about like the really small deal, right? The 58 unit P30 Fox Street, where that was like one of my first deals, and figuring out that, and getting in a daycare tent, and then all of a sudden there's like a big flood in the basement, and figuring that out. But everyone walked away happy. But I would say, like, I'll say two things. One is, yeah, I got to work on a deal with Jeff Levine Douglaston called Crossroads. It was on 149th and Southern Boulevard, and that was a three-phase 60,000 unit, 425, 60,000 square foot retail space, right? And I bring now incredible baggage when it comes to like mixed use development. And, it's one thing to do this affordable housing game. It's another thing to like actually pound the pavement and meet with commercial tenants. Is fundamentally, the stories are endless and I love them and I hold them dearly to my heart. I got to say, I know my commercial tenants much better than I did, anybody else at the time, because I'm talking to them constantly, whether it's the grocery store, the laundromat, or the daycare, the school construction authority. The character list is just huge, and they always made the deal extremely frustrating, but always brighter because I didn't know what the day would bring. But I mean, I still love the affordable housing, and I got to work with institutions like the New York Botanical Gardens and doing
Cool.
pilots with them. They're getting to know long-standing institution has also been just a great part of the job.
You've had so many interesting experiences.
I mean, other people can outdo me, for sure, but I really do like some of the deals that I've done. So they're all kind of fun.
So, what keeps you grounded? Do you have any daytime, morning routines or anything that you do to kind of keep yourself on task, or are you
Yeah.
just kind of a generally calm person?
I don't know.
Your wife back. I'm just kidding.
These teeth are they're a little straight because I grinded them down in grad school for sure. Stress comes out in some way. That was one of the ways. No, I just, I'm just really blessed with, a great family and a wife I've known since 1999. So that like definitely helps for sure. Close family and all that. And just, the people I've met in the industry as well, which kind of, make me feel like we can always do more, but also kind of keeping me sane because nothing seems to be right sometimes. So I think, that's just kind of like the network that I have.
And smoking. Oh, that's what I just thought. That grounds
No,
me.
I was a swimmer in college. There's definitely
Uh,
no collegiate
no.
swimmer smokers for sure. They were usually into the non-successful ones. You kind of need the lungs.
You've hired a lot of people. You built up this organization. What do you look for when you're hiring someone? What kind of skill set?
Yeah. Well, if you guys haven't vetted them, is that what you're talking about?
Okay, we got
That's a
liberal
good
arts. You
answer.
like the liberal arts background, right? That's kind of cool, right? You like the being able to see the whole picture.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, yeah, I don't know. What is,
Curiosity.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know what you look for. We know what you
No,
look
just
for.
like you see it on the resume, you see like the ambition, but it's like ambition that makes sense. It's not ambition for ambition's sake, right? Like you see, like it tells the story. You see it on the paper. Like I get like I think what happens, and my team can make fun of me for this too. Like I find someone online that I really think would be a great addition, or like I get their resume from a friend of a friend and I read it and it just clicks. I'm like, I get their story. Like, let's talk. Like, that's kind of what it is. It has to make sense on paper. And then, when it makes sense on paper, I think 9 times out of 10, it's usually a great interview. So I do think even though that resume or the LinkedIn is a little bit dated in some ways, right? I just think it speaks when you kind of like, again, like with development too, like there is no development school. Well, there are development schools, but like it's not like you went to Harvard to do your development or Michigan to, but like you kind of see that career path of a little bit of a generalist, a little bit of overlapping. It could be in construction, architect, or government, and then they did something else because they want to do something else, and you kind of see that. I think that's where I've seen some real successful people.
Cool. One more question, Lise. Go for it. Bring it home.
Okay, one more question.
All right.
You're a winner with 5 questions this time.
Okay.
So tell me, none of us do this alone. You have any mentors or folks that you'd like to kind of recognize as helping you along the way?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. We have Kirk Goodrich from Enterprise, who now does many wonderful things. He's the best.
He's
And
got a great podcast, by the way.
yeah, he does. He does. Him and Raphael, they've known each other forever. And that's great to see that they have that relationship for so long. I don't know if you guys know Isaac Henderson. I worked with him at CPC Resources. He's now doing great things. Actually, just bought a site the other day from the church, or the Archdiocese.
Cool.
I'm very excited for him. And then, Jeff Levine and Michael Kay from Douglaston Development. And and that whole team, Michael Kessler and Jed and Steven, Kathy, all of them, the construction folks, the property management folks, like, I mean, that's a great team they have. And just kind of them letting me learn from all of them, whether it was property management or construction or development or how to build a building efficiently, like, and how to work with projects. They were all just class acts. And I just think the best of that organization. And
Where are we fans of the Douglaston companies?
yeah, they're good. And Liz is there, which I'm very excited for her. And Ray, and it's a really wonderful team, and they've got a lot of product right now to push, and that's awesome. They got a lot of fun things ahead of them still, which is great.
Cool. Well, Russell, we've known each other a while.
Yeah, good seeing you
Great
guys.
to have you on here.
Thanks for having me.
More about you.
Yeah,
You got a great experience. Experience. You're doing great things. Love. It's cool to be able to develop and work in a city that you're also like doing the actual real estate work in, which is cool. You're not like doing this in Oklahoma, you know what I mean? So you get to like be
yeah,
around the actual stuff you're doing, which I think is really unique.
yeah. Sometimes I think about, like, my wife and I got married in Nashville. My family is sometimes from Tennessee. They went to University of Tennessee, my parents, and I'm thinking like, well, if I started off in Nashville in 2003, I mean, I would be very successful. But I feel like when I talked to those developers in Nashville, they were in Atlanta, and they were always on the road. I mean, at least in New York City, like, you're always, that's the great thing about New York City developers is like, they're here, they're focused, and they can get to any site in 90 minutes or less, and that's critical, I feel like sometimes too. I couldn't agree with you more, but I know other people are very successful developers and able to do all over the country, but that, I'm really glad to get it to here for
So
sure.
you're able to, I think like just changing your neighborhood that you're near, I find that's like always been my dream to do that.
Yeah. No, I
admire
agree.
that.
I agree.
So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Resume, a Jackson Lucas podcast where we take a deep dive into the career journeys of some of the top minds in real estate and equip you with the knowledge to move forward in your path towards the success you've envisioned. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Beyond the Resume. We're grateful for your support. All episodes of Beyond the Resume are brought to you by Jackson Lucas, building inclusive and diverse businesses through talent acquisition. Visit us at jacksonlucas.com.